So, cast your mind back. You are Tommy Shelby, leader of the Peaky expletive deleted blinders.
He's a god, he's a man, he's a ghost, he's a guru. They're whispering his name through this disappearing land, but hidden in his coat is a red right hand.
Before 2013 and the first series aired, how did you get the gig?
I remember at the time I was watching a lot of American television, particularly The Wire, and I thought it was amazing.
And there's a thinking man right there.
This is 2012, and I said it to my agent. I said, I'd love to get, I know that there's something exciting happening in television. Is there anything around? Do you know of anything? And 2 days later, he sent me the first two scripts of Peaky. So it was great serendipity and great agenting combining. And I read it and I thought it was magnificent. You know, it was clearly really excellent quality writing. So then I met up with Steve Knight and Karen Mandelbach, and it kind of went from there.
We have to use guns. Let's use proper guns.
For me, as a viewer, as a critic, I look at you as Tommy Shelby and go, oh, it was destined. How close were we not to having you in the role?
I think that there may have been, and I think, like, I'm not talking out of school here, I think that Steve and Karen definitely had some reservations about me being able to inhabit, I suppose, the physicality of the character, you know, because I'm not the biggest man in the world. And up until that point, I'd never entered the gym willingly. And so I think that may have been a concern, but we got over that, you know, because I was keen to prove to them that I could do it. So we got over that. And I just started working really hard on the character from the beginning. You know, but at the time, you have to remember, nobody knew that this was a small show on BBC Two. You know, nobody had. It was like we all wanted to make the best show that we possibly could, but nobody kind of could conceive of how it would be received. You know, ultimately,
I would have secretly been holding out hope. If I could have gone to Ladbrokes and put, you know, money down, I'd have gone, this is going to be a hit, not just because of your involvement, but like Sam Neill, like the writing alone. The music, even the title sequence every time just makes me go, this was born to be a hit. Did you harbor those secret hopes that this was going to be one of those shows?
Truthfully, you know, you're just so focused and obsessed with doing the first series as best you can, and believing that if you do it as best you can, then hopefully people will invest in it, and hopefully the BBC will give you another go. But we didn't really know, and I do, from what I recall, it was quite slow. You know, that it was quite slow that people began to really invest in the show. And I think that it was only really the second series that it tipped into that kind of phenomenon thing, you know?
Be honest with me, though, when you first saw the title on the script, Peaky Blinders, you must have gone, right, so that's a temp title, just to be clear.
Even though it's true, I really did think, I mean, I didn't think it was the catchiest of titles. I didn't know what it meant. And, you know, when you Googled Peaky Blinders back in 2012, there was one, you would get one hit, you know, and that was it. So it all came from Steve Knight's imagination, and his parents, I believe, had been runners for the original Peaky Blinders, and they had told him the stories, and that's how he acquired the stories, and then he wrote them, but sort of wrote them through the eyes of a child, you know, so that the characters were always very heightened. Everything was extra, you know.
And now we live in a world where if you Google Peaky Blinders, you might get the Peaky Baker's Bakery. What is that one? The Shelby Salon, Peaky Barbers.
Yeah.
Let's dig into the character, I suppose. What is it about Tommy that people respond to? I mean, I've got a list of possibilities just to get the ball rolling. Like, he's a guy with nerves of steel. He's unbelievably hardworking. The ladies love him, obviously. But to me, it's his intelligence. I think what is so appealing to him is that he is burdened with intelligence.
Intelligence. intelligence is a very valuable thing in it, my friend.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. I've said that before, that it's a burden on him. Thankfully, I don't have that burden myself. But in the writing, I think the brilliant thing that Steve Knight did was that he made the line of the First World War in the character. So there was always this sort of memory or of Tommy of this, happy, not damaged, accessible character. And then the First World War just destroyed him. And I think that the fact that he then was unafraid of death, that's kind of, it was kind of the engine for me, certainly at the beginning, that he was like, why not? Let's try everything, because if I'm going to die tomorrow, why not?
It feeds into his humor, because I think as cool as he looks, as fantastic as he looks, whipping his hat off in slow motion, he's this really funny guy, even with a gun to his head. And that's obviously part and parcel of the same thing, where it's like, well, might die tomorrow, I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
I am chosen. I'm chosen. Could the chosen one smoke?
Are there particular lines of Tommy's that stick in your head where you go, that was a joy to say?
I remember, I don't know who I said it to or in what context, but I said to somebody that all religion is a foolish answer to a foolish question.
All religion is a foolish answer to a foolish question.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing piece of writing.
If I were to go like really the extra mile for my Tommy Shelby Halloween costume next year, what would you say would be the most important things to concentrate on? I mean, obviously I'd need the ice blue contact lenses and I need some sort of really important, serious jaw reconstruction. But like, what about the way you handle cigarettes? Like you kind of gum them a bit, don't you?
That comes from the fact that the cigarettes, we cut the filter off, or do we leave the filter on? I cannot recall. But anyway, if you don't rub them across your lips initially, they will stick. You see, so that just became this sort of idiosyncrasy, but it was out of necessity, because otherwise the cigarettes would stick to my lip, and then I just kept doing it, and it became a Tommy thing. These things develop over the course of the show, For example, I remember we had gotten through the first 2 series, and then we realized that Tommy has never eaten. We've never seen Tommy eat. Like, he sat down at tables, but has never consumed a morsel. So then we made it a kind of a running gag. So throughout the 36 hours of television, Tommy Shelby never consumes anything, except I think once he consumes a sprig of mint when he's with his son. So these things develop when you have the luxury of being with a character for so long. These little things arise, and you just, I will say to Steve, or Steve will pick up on it, and then we'll just kind of run with it,
There's somebody who's counted the number of times you've drunk whiskey, and it's something like 213 times.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can punch that weight, but I'll do my best. I'll also need to work on my Birmingham baritone, obviously.
You don't parley when you're on the back foot.
And where should I go for the haircut? How often does it need to be topped up on set? Is it a daily routine?
Depending on, and throughout the series, we've had different severity of cut, and I think in series 5 it was the most severe. It was a 0
Skull.
blade. Yeah. So that required daily attention. Yeah. And then growing it out is traumatic, because it doesn't look good when that midpoint. Yeah. So it takes a bit of patience to actually grow it out.
I think I'd also need to perfect my finger wagging, because when Tommy's upset, out comes the finger.
Oh shit! You're taking apart my performance now.
I guess my big question, I often like asking this one, is posture-wise, what should I be going for? If I'm trying to be Tommy, what should I do with my body physically?
Well, that was another trick. You see, all of these tricks were in it for me to feel like someone who was who could elicit fear in people, who was very physically capable, who that violence was a form of expression for him. So all of these things, the severe haircut, dropping the voice. So the walk, then we tried to, it was kind of the George Bush walk initially, when, like to try and give you the impression that you are actually more physically powerful than you may be, So there was all of that. All of those things are a little like, we make the shoulders in the costume bigger, and all of these things. And then I would go to the gym. But yeah, you'd have to walk in a in a George Bush Jr. way.
All right, note taken. I'm on it. Of all the incredible cast members that you've worked with, from the late great Helen McCrory and Paul Anderson, and everyone, like so many incredible people. Paddy, Tom Hardy, we've mentioned Sam Neill already, Aidan Gillen. The list literally goes on and on. I'm trying not to list them all. Anya, Adrian. Who was the most likely to make you laugh on set?
I'd have to say Helen. Actually, we were very, very good buddies on that show, and she was a very, very funny lady, and she would make me laugh a lot, I have to say. And she would always take the mickey out of herself as well as taking the mickey out of me. So yeah, we had it, and it's important on this show because a lot of the scenes are so bloody intense, and so demanding, sort of psychologically, and you're going places that are difficult enough to go to. So you have to have some levity to balance it up, and I always had an amazing laugh with Helen.
Honestly, though, what was your first reaction to Tom Hardy's accent?
I mean, you never quite know what to expect with Tom, but he absolutely, that character came fully formed.
Ah, how soon did you know that I was not dead?
You wrote me a letter, Alfie.
Did I?
Yeah, you asked about your dog.
Oh, they gave me a lot of drugs at first.
Out the box.
Yeah. He just knew. He just absolutely knew what he was doing there. And again, it's coupled with this amazing dialogue that he was given by Steve Knight. So yeah, he went for it, and it worked again. This is one of these lovely sort of accidents or surprises that happens. The energy that Alfie has is completely counter to the energy that Tommy has. So when you put them together in a scene, it really works. And we always cross shoot those scenes, so it's like a piece of theater. Sometimes you have 20-minute takes, because traditionally or conventionally you would shoot over the shoulder. But yeah, that's hard to do when you're in these big scenes, because you're not reacting in actual real time to what the other character is saying. So we make an exception always with the Tommy Alpha scenes to cross shoot them. And I think that's why they really sing.
You got to keep it all in. You don't want to miss a gram of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I read somewhere that David Bowie was a big fan of this show. And I was wondering what, quote unquote, famous fans you've met who said, I have to talk to you about Peaky Blinders. I respect you as a human being. I want to see how your day is going. But can we also just talk about Tommy, please?
Oh, I'm terrible for this because I don't really go out. So I don't really.
You and me both, Killian.
Good. I'm glad to hear. I know I don't really meet that many people unless I'm working with them directly. I know I spoke to David Bowie personally, and he did tell me that he was a massive fan. And then I gave him a gift of my Series 1 hat, which I know he loved. When he put out that album Black Star, just before he died, he asked, or he gave it to Steve Knight and said, listen, if you want to use any of these songs in the show, you can. And we did. Yeah, that was probably the most special. Yeah, that was the most special.
Tell me though, you gave away one of your hats to this David Bowie character. What have you kept a hold of? Because the whole look, you can never wear these clothes out, right?
No.
But you do want them in your house, surely, because they're just so perfect. What have you taken home?
Well, a lot of these clothes were made by an amazing Dublin tailor. And there was a beautiful dark navy tuxedo that was specially cut for me. I kept that. I've never worn it.
A toast, if I may, to the end of our deal. The beginning of something more. Happy birthday, Lizzie.
I'm going to wrap things up with one of those almighty questions, but what will you miss most when you do finally hang up the hat?
I guess I'll miss the people, it was a long journey for all of us making that show, big journey. So I'll miss the people involved. There's been so many people over the years, all the directors and all the cast came in and out. It's been a big adventure.
It sure has. And we're all very grateful for you taking us on it. Is there any advice you'd give to your younger self a decade ago before you said yes to this and it all came together? Just to warn them, even the tiniest thing, if you're going to be running in these shoes, wear double socks, because
Yeah, that's a good tip. I don't know. I'd never, I'm a non-smoker. I never anticipated smoking that many. They're not real, obviously, but like I asked the prop guys to count how many I smoked, and I think it's 3,000 a series, so it's can't be good for you, right? So take a lot of vitamin C to counteract it. That's probably my advice. Take a lot of vitamin C. Look, I'm wagging the finger now.
And make sure there's an inhaler on set at all time.
Indeed.
It's been a real pleasure, and I've got to tell you what I very nearly said. Thank you so much, Tommy, which says enough. I think it's been emotional. Have a great rest of your day, and
Thanks,
thanks
man.
again.
Nice to talk to you.